Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're peeling back the curtain on NHS clinical coding. Now, you might casually think, oh, that's just admin, paperwork stuff. But if you think that, you're missing, well, the entire revenue stream. We're diving into a function that's really mission critical. It's like the main income firewall for every single NHS trust.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important to see the coder not just as, processing data. They're a crucial player, really, in making sure the whole system is financially sustainable. And look, here's a nugget from the sources that just proves the stakes here. There was one analysis that showed when a trust really focused on improving their documentation accuracy, they saw a cumulative monthly revenue increase of 36,273. So that's the real-world impact of getting the coding right.
Okay, £36,000 a month. Wow. Okay, let's unpack the financial engine behind this then. The NHS funding mechanism is called payment by results, or PBR. So PBR is the rule book. What's the actual currency they use?
Right, the currency is the HRG. That stands for Healthcare Resource Group. It's the unit that tells the system how much to pay for each bit of patient activity.
And the coder's job is to bridge the gap then between the patient notes and this HRG.
Exactly. They're the essential translator. They have to look at all the narrative notes, what the clinicians actually write down, all the diagnoses, the interventions, and turn those, sometimes subjective notes into structured, standardized language.
Okay, standardized language. Which systems are mandatory for that? Because it sounds incredibly complex.
It is. They need to master two huge international classification systems, mandatory ones. First, there's ICD-10. That's for every single diagnosis recorded. And second, OPCS-4. That covers all the surgical and medical procedures done.
ICD-10 and OPCS-4.
Right. So once the coder translates the notes into these codes, what happens then? Does it go straight to finance? No, there's a really critical middle step. Those codes, the ICD-10 and OPCS-4 codes, they get fed into special software. It's called grouper software, and it's the grouper that combines these codes to generate the final HRG code, the one with the price tag.
Ah, okay. So if the first coding step misses something important,
then the grouper just spits out a lower tariff HRG. Simple as that. So accurate coding right at the start. It's the single most critical input for securing the trust's full income. Absolutely critical.
It means these people, these coders, they're highly valued and probably hard to find.
Very hard to find. To be fully qualified, you need this specific status. Accredited Clinical Coder, the ACC. That comes via the National Clinical Coding Qualification, the NCCQ. And that whole process, getting the ACC, it takes a minimum of 3 years. Dedicated training.
3 years minimum. Okay, so scarce talent, which must mean trusts have to fight to recruit them.
Precisely. ACC qualified staff are definitely scarce. It forces trusts into these competitive recruitment battles. And we saw something really striking in the source material about compensation. These jobs aren't just about the base salary. They're getting significant premiums on top.
Right, the RRPs. Recruitment and retention premiums. We saw specific examples, didn't we? Band 5 qualified coders getting a 15% RRP monthly payment, and Band 6 senior coders seeing premiums, up to 10-15%?
Yeah. That's a huge signal from the market, isn't it? It shows just how valuable these roles are in offsetting financial risk.
And if you're fighting that hard to get them, you need to keep them.
Exactly. Which is why technology is so important now. Things like modern EPR systems, electronic patient records, and EDRMS, document management systems, they aren't optional anymore. They're mandatory enablers for, hybrid and remote working, which, frankly, is now the baseline expectation for experienced coders. You have to offer it.
Okay, let's quickly look at the career path. You start as a trainee, Band 3.
Band 3. But even then, you need specific qualifications. GCSEs in maths, English, and, crucially, biology. Then you progress, aiming for Band 5 or 6, qualified or senior coder. And that's where the ACC qualification becomes mandatory.
And does the role change much at the higher bands, say Band 7 and up?
Oh, definitely. It really transforms. The focus shifts, away from just doing the coding day-to-day towards more strategic management and, importantly, building relationships with clinicians. They effectively become clinical data consultants.
Ah, and that's where that collaboration comes in, right? Senior coders aren't just passively reading old notes, they're actively talking to doctors, even surgeons.
Yes, directly liaising with senior clinicians, including surgeons. They might need to challenge or clarify ambiguities in the documentation. Yeah. It's not passive reading at all. Think about it. When a senior coder picks up the phone to a, highly paid surgeon to question their notes, they're essentially querying the primary clinical record, all for the sake of maximizing revenue capture. That takes serious diplomatic skill. It's part of this continuous improvement cycle, making sure the notes are good enough for the top tariff.
So let's wrap this up. What's the big takeaway here? We've seen that poor documentation, incomplete coding, it directly translates into, well, quantifiable income loss, which means investing in your coding team seems like the best way to mitigate that financial risk.
Absolutely. It's a direct return on investment.
And the source material mentioned a recommendation, didn't it, about educating clinicians more on this, which raises, I think, an interesting final question for you, the listener, to think about. Should mandatory continuous education for senior clinicians, focusing specifically on the operational and financial importance of their documentation for coding, should that become a fundamental, required part of medical training going forward? Something to mull over.